Hi everyone, Nick here. A quick editor's note. Cuz and I mentioned a couple times during this episode how there haven't been any rioting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, there has been rioting in connection to the Black Lives Matter and the police brutality protests happening around the country. We recorded this episode on May 20th, 2020, before these riots started. While we know the rioting is not connected to COVID-19, we want to assure our listeners that we are not intentionally ignoring, dismissing, or pretending the riots and these protests didn't happen. It was a case of unfortunate timing. So, with that said, please enjoy the episode.
Uh, test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Sexy.
All right, that's crystal clear.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, awesome. Finally. Let's see what this sounds like.
Did you crack open a cold one? And now it's time for us to digest the lowest rung of pop culture so you don't have to. You're tuned in to the all-new Culture Cast. Welcome back, everyone, to the all-new Culture Cast. And today, guess who's... Oh, I'm Nick, because I'm great, so I get to go first. But guess who's with me today, people?
Cousin Charles' grand return.
Yes, it's been a while.
I think every episode of mine should be a grand return. A fantastic return.
It should be. We need you on here more often. I've been missing talking to you and podcasting and all of that. So I'm glad we were able to finally meet back up. I guess crisis took a lot out of you. But
it did take a lot out of me, and then the real world crisis put me in an anxiety hole. And and tonight's feature film brought me right back to it.
I know. The real world crisis, of course, that we're talking about is that Ruby Rose has quit Batwoman.
Yeah.
And so we're in spiral mode now.
Just like
there's also this corona.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Not to go off topic, even though we're not on topic. That was surprising that she quit the show. I'm very curious on why she quit the show. I mean,
from what I've heard from the as the kids like to use the Reddit.
There's a reliable source of information.
It's the most reliable source of information. From what I think there was I think it could have. Some people are saying it had to do with an onset injury that happened during the season 1 production. Some people are also saying there could be other issues, fun contract negotiations and things like that. But it did kind of come out of the blue because, half the CW shows kind of sort of had to come up with a finale as they were like, well, can't really produce any more episodes, so what do we got?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. It could be a case of Ruby Rose being Ruby Rose, who, from my is a awful human being in real life. But I don't know.
You don't say.
I'm curious to see who they'll recast, because it's going to happen from here on out. There's always going to be a case of who was the better Batwoman? Was it Ruby Rose or the new one?
Oh, they're always. I mean, let's be honest. Ruby Rose just Terrence Howard herself.
She really did. It's a good comparison. Or is it a better comparison? Ed Norton herself, but
they're both kind of in the same club, but basically, I mean, I'll be honest. Not to discredit any of the other actors from our beloved CW verse, but she was probably the most high-profile person coming into that show. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, everyone else every other actor that kind of, had minor success. I mean, the only other big star, I was like, oh yeah, he's been in, other movies and projects was probably Victor Garber for Firestorm. But even that's well, he's just a character actor. So
I would say maybe Brandon Routh had some clout. Especially being on, since he was also Superman. But I mean, the Legends doesn't really have a specific lead. They have it's an ensemble. Arrow's the lead. Flash is the main character. Batwoman's the main character. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Especially since Batwoman, despite what internet incels have to say, it was like the third most watched show on the CW. So it was pretty up there in the ratings for the CW anyway. And yeah, it's just it's I'd be curious to see how that shakes
It,
out. So
since it's no longer fun to go outside still, I'll add it to my list of things to watch.
Batwoman.
Yeah, I haven't. Outside of just outside of the episode of Crisis, I have yet to actually sit down and watch any of the. I know you've sang a lot of high praise for it, but I have yet.
Yeah. It, here's the thing about Batwoman. I felt like the show started pretty strong. Like, okay, I can get behind this, but now that I'm in the back half of the season, it's a lot of wheel spinning, and to the point where I don't know if I'm going to watch it next season. Um, Not
Is
because
that,
I hate it, but just because there's too many things out there that I want to follow, and something's got to give. And right now, Batwoman and Black Lightning and possibly Supergirl are on the bubble. But is not coming back until at least next summer, so
yeah.
that problem might have corrected itself. But
I was gonna
it's
say, I
just
think most of them are. I think pretty much 2020. They usually will finish whatever their previous season is like at the beginning of the year, and then start the new season at the kind of like
right.
latter half. But now it's like, nope, 2020 or
Yeah,
2021. That's when we're coming back.
yeah, and some of the shows like Legend and Supergirl aren't on their spring 2021 calendar, so they may even have further.
Yeah.
They won't even start until further. So anyway, we're not doing the
Mhm.
CW superhero podcast. I'm sure we will again someday. Um,
Am I
oh
gonna
oh
be? I Oh, go ahead.
yeah. We're really talking about the um, big stuff that relates to our world crisis
Mhm.
right now, and that
Yeah.
is they've officially announced the Snyder Cut of Justice League.
You you internet trolls finally won. Now you get to see a maybe slightly better version of a really, really poorly put
I
together movie.
I haven't seen Batman v Superman or the Justice League. They're on my DVR, but I haven't had the energy to sit down and watch them. But I can only imagine the Snyder Cut is going to be worse than what they put out. But
I mean, after I did actually finally see Batman v Superman. I think it was like we were at Megan's parents' house. And I think they just had it on the TV, and I finally saw it. I'm like, oh my god, this is such a train wreck. The scenes would happen, and then they would end, and then it would just cut to something completely different. It was a I don't want to say nightmare of a film, but it wasn't really great. And Justice League was like, oh man, it was like maybe like a first draft. Like some of the effects, there was like I'm the one thing that stuck out for me of the movie, and I don't know, and again, this is not a good sign. There was like one really bad effect shot in like Themyscira where they're supposed to show like a bunch of Amazon warriors riding, and it just looked like they took one person and copy and pasted it like 20 times. And it doesn't look great. And I get it, a lot of bad production or a lot of behind the scenes drama,
yeah,
but man, short of like short of them I don't know what this version is actually going to have that what we got doesn't, but short of it just like, okay, we're recasting the entire movie, we're starting from scratch. I don't see how they can bounce back.
I don't know. It doesn't sound. The little I've heard about the supposed Snyder Cut, I can't see it being an improvement. Like
Maybe they give
it would be like a different version of a bad movie or a different bad movie. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But
it would be like it would be like if somebody decided to re-edit the room to be
you
slightly
know,
more convoluted.
there's this is an interesting, again, off topic already. This is interesting comparison. I don't know if you remember this. I remember this because I don't know. I was in college at the time and I just knew it. But people, it's forgotten about today. But the Exorcist movie, the 70s horror film,
Mhm.
it had a number of sequels. The
Yes.
latest of one was released in the mid 2000s, so 2005, 2004 thereabouts, and it actually had two distinctly different cuts. They filmed the movie, and I guess the studio hated it, and they got a new director to come in to refilm it, and it did a completely different thing. It was terrible. And then a year later, they let the original director come back and finish off his project and release it straight to video. It might have had like a limited theater release, I don't know. It was also terrible. And I can only imagine this is going to be the same thing with Justice League. So,
Well, I mean, you can only polish a turd so many ways.
yeah, yeah, put lipstick on a pig or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about fictional contagions, not real ones like
Yes.
Justice League. Um,
Yes.
and we are talking about the 2011 film Contagion, directed by Steven Soderbergh, starring a host of who's who,
Mhm.
and has amazing parallels to the world that we currently live in with the coronavirus. The only
It
thing missing were murder hornets, which it's too bad they didn't bring
uh,
that in.
uh, murder hornets, and also like 3 months of like previously teased disasters leading up to it, because I think the threat of World War III. Oh God,
Oh yeah,
there was
I
something else in
forgot about
February.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
the impeachment.
yes, yes, that all happened this year, people. This
Yeah,
I think 2020 has been like a decade long. It's only been like 5 months at most.
I know, right? But
Oh my God.
yeah, so that's what we're talking about tonight. What fun.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Hopefully you brought.
so you suggested this movie a couple of weeks back, and I'm like,
Yeah.
great, I've never seen it. And at the time, I couldn't find it anywhere, and I really didn't want to buy the movie because I'm cheap. So, by happenstance, last week we got one of those free watchathon weeks. You get a free week of HBO on demand,
Oh,
and so Contagion happened to be on there. Like, aha! That's why I was like texting like, let's do Contagion. I can finally watch it. And if you said yes, I was going to watch it, and you said yes, so I watched it. That's the
yeah.
story.
The reason I brought that I brought the movie, besides what's happening outside our very doors right now. I think I saw the movie like a couple years back, and then it kind of sort of was like one of those movies I was like kind of in the back of my mind.
Hmm.
And Megan, she, one of the movies that she kind of had from her sort of personal DVD collection was Contagion. Funny enough, just no particular reason, it just kind of was there, and it's like, so I was like, I got the movie, and it seems pretty timely. And after watching it, it was, oh my God, it was so eerie. It
I
was
know.
the most relevant movie of 2020, came out 9 years ago.
Yeah, it is spooky. Like even just like little details, like they're talking about
Mhm.
social distancing, and um, they had the conspiracy theorist who was
Yeah.
like saying that this drug works, which I think they don't come out and say it, but I think it's implied that he faked his symptoms to make the
Yes.
drug work, to make the drug seem like it works, because he was getting a kickback from the pharmaceutical company. I think that was the implication.
Yes. It was like some sort of like, there were, I believe so. And it was very, it was eerily Alex Jones esque, which I don't
Yeah,
know if Alex Jones was a big thing back in 2011, because I
he
don't know
he
how long.
he was around, but not like it is now. Like
Right.
the increase in social media and smartphone apps has really increased it really increased the spread of alternative news and all that bullshit.
Fake fake news or alternative truth, or whatever weird reality we're living in now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was kind of one, because I remember I was like, okay, Jude Law in this movie was kind of a prick, but after rewatching, I'm like, oh my God, they basically wrote Alex Jones with but not, he's not a, kind of a tubby schlub who like lives in his basement. He's actually, but it's the same stuff, because I think Alex Jones hawks like those. oh, these are special kinds of vitamins that will fight off cancer or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, he does. He
he
has a
just bit
bunch of things on
bunch
his website.
bunch of kind of sort of holistic or whatever the term is, which funny enough, I think the products that Alex Jones sells are the same. To tie everything back together, some of the stuff that he sells in real life are the same types of products that one Gwyneth Paltrow in her Goop lab also sell. And that's the main reason I remember this movie is, well, Gwyneth Paltrow killed the world, more or less.
Yeah, that's funny that she was in this movie. Let's talk briefly about Gwyneth Paltrow. One, she probably doesn't even remember she was in this movie, but because apparently she forgets the movies that she's in.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that she's a high-profile name,
Mm-hmm.
and they like kill her off immediately, which I found to be an interesting choice given the in another movie they would get like some mid-range actor and she would die, but Gwyneth Paltrow, this A-list star, and they kill her. I'm sure it was done for shock value, and
Yeah. Okay.
and that way it
That
works.
that's one of the things I'll give credit to this movie is they give kind of like nowadays, a lot of high profile like TV shows and movies will get all the praise in the world for like, killing off a character and like keeping them dead. This one, yeah, there really was like no hold bar, like, because I think it was her and then I think Kate Winslet also. Spoilers, I guess, but if you're watching
Oh,
this, hopefully you've
yes,
seen the movie.
spoilers for a 9-year-old movie.
Yeah,
Who everyone is watching right now because of COVID-19.
yeah, because everybody kind of vaguely remembered. Oh yeah, that movie did come out. But yeah, that's the one thing I will say. Just kind of like the fact that the first 10 minutes, kind of really sort of are gut punches. Like, oh wow, Gwyneth Paltrow's dead. Now the little kid's dead too. Holy crap!
Yeah,
That's
they
that's what. I was gonna say that's the one thing I will be thankful for that so far, knock on wood, COVID does not do is kill you within like 3 days or something.
yeah, they go. This one definitely, compared to COVID-19, this one is moves much more quickly and much more deadly. Um,
Yes.
so there is that. But I mean, if we had a movie about COVID and not them saying it's not spreading, it is of course, but
Mhm.
um, if it was like real life right now, the movie would be boring. It'd be like, okay, let's get on here. In a movie, you need people dying and civilization
Yeah.
collapsing like almost immediately to have some sort of like uh
To hook.
narrative.
Yeah, to like hook you. I mean, I will say like when they started showing like the different cities and they just had the little population meter, I was like, oh man, like it was kind of sort of triggering that little like anxiety itch. I was like, of in the back of my brain of like, oh wow, yeah, this is really kind of how things go down somewhat. But yeah, yeah, definitely because I think not to insert too much of the real world, but I think right now I think the mortality rate is like 2%. And I think they say in this movie it's like 25 or 30%, which is definitely like, again to give more stakes to the fictional situation in that
Hmm.
film.
Yeah. So the only thing they don't go into too much in this movie compared to what they do with what's happening in real life is um you don't see a lot of the people with this thing. You have a lot of people who don't believe it's actually happening, don't believe this is a thing.
Mm,
Um, the government outside of like Bryan Cranston and Lawrence Fishburne, if you want to count him, is
mm,
largely absent. Like you hear they do stuff in the background, but the president doesn't make an appearance. You don't
mm.
even know what the president's saying to people or anything like that. Like he goes into hiding, they reference offhandedly, but
Right. I
that's about it.
The closest that we get to that drawing into like world thing is I think there's like this is the closest we get to like a government body not related to like the military or like the CDC. I think there's like Minnesota health officials or like some sort of like some sort of state officials. They're like this is kind of pulling the mayor from Jaws type thing of like those beaches will stay open regardless. Damn the shark. Um, but I think that's like because I think, but there's only like two scenes of them in that movie. Because there's like one where they're getting like, even though I feel like someone in this, because I'm assuming they're health officials, but even though they have to have it explain what like some of these terms are, which I feel like they should know. And then the other thing, and then I think they show up once when they're like opening like the kind of like one of those. Oh God, what is it? When they turn like the hockey stadium into like a quarantine lab or like
Oh yeah.
they pop up once, but then they're never seen for like the rest of the movie, and that's like the
Yeah, and
closest we get.
they're super antagonistic. They're like,
Right.
You mean you're going to shut us all down or something like that?" Which again is scarily accurate to the things that people are going over today. Like it's like Steven Soderbergh said, "I'm going to time travel like 10 years. Let me get an idea of what's going on, and then I'll make a movie about it."
Yeah, I'm gonna create a warning to the world that people will go like, "That was a pretty good movie," and then 9 years later, that's when it's really going to find its audience. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, because I watched it with Megan, there were many, many, many moments where we both kind of looked at each other just with faces of sort of shock and horror, of just like, oh God, that's what. Like, I think there was one of the scenes early on in the movie where they're like at the they're like trying to see like, okay, who could have. I know Gwyneth Paltrow's character has a name, but I'm just going to call her Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's fine. This movie reminds me of, in the loosest context, back in like the 60s and 70s, there were a string of disaster films like Airport and Towering Inferno and all that, and they had like star-studded casts. This is like a modern version of that in many, many ways. So yeah, just use the actors' names because who cares about the character names?
Yeah. But yeah, but anyhow, they're like, I think they're like trying to go to their office, like, okay, who could she have had an interaction with? And they're like, oh, she grabbed my coffee cup. She was supposed to be in my Pilates class, things like that. And then like the one guy's like, they're like, oh yeah, Brian, he like picked her up from the airport. And they're like, what? And he's like on a bus, and then they're like, get off the bus now. He's like, okay. And the one thing I noticed, he's touching every railing on that bus. I'm like, oh my God.
And he's like coughing up a lung while he's at it.
It's just like, he's just like, I'm going to spread as much as possible over this entire situation it's like, in today's, just like with, perspective of what's going on right now, it's like, oh Jesus, this is horrifying. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, that was like. But yeah, there are just a ton of those little details. I think, which I don't know if back then, if it really sunk with people, because this is, you were kind of bringing up like so the old like disaster movies and stuff like that. But there's really not, because I think the one thing that's really eerie, because this is supposed to be like an end of the world type virus, and a lot of movies, I think, even today and even back then, usually when you involve the phrase end of the world virus, there's usually one of two things. It's either like, okay, it's an evil weaponized plot, to take over the world, which they do kind of briefly make a mention to, like, is this a biological weapon that's being used to destroy America from the inside? And the doctor and Lawrence Fishburne's like, no, the virus is just kind of doing that on its own. It doesn't need somebody to actually go ahead and start it. But then the other thing when you usually get that is usually like you get some like zombies or something like that. So it is kind of refreshing that it's like, well, civilization is kind of collapsing, but society really isn't over necessarily. Like there's definitely some messed up stuff, which that's one thing I looked at Megan. I was like, okay, we haven't gotten to looting yet. Walmart is still open. People can go and still get groceries. So things truly haven't gotten that desperate yet, is what I have to preface everything with. But that was one thing I was like that I thought was really kind of sort of refreshing about the movie, is just the fact that it is sort of, there is a lot of that's very much matter of fact and just sort of like, well, the world's still spinning. It just, we have to deal with this killer virus.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to like the looting and anything like that, which I don't think we will, because it's the virus is not great, but it's not like um it's not gonna get like, I don't think, to that point. But
Right.
I don't know. I have a
Well,
bucket of bleach. What's it?
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was saying I have a bucket of bleach ready to go just to pound back when I get it. So
Oh, I'm going the full opposite direction. I got a hockey mask. I got my S&M gear. I'm ready to just start. I'm ready to burn civilization to the ground at a moment's notice. It's
you
going to
know,
be
I
like a
I went to a store for the first time last week in like almost a 3 month period, because the Kiwi's been the one that's been kind of doing the shopping, so I've been staying back at home. And so I put on the mask, and for I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I felt like I needed to talk like Bane anytime I was at a store.
yes,
It's like,
yes.
I am looking for the power washers. Please direct me in that area, or it will be your reckoning.
I that has very much been yeah, because I've had to wear a mask at work when I'm talking to people. That's very much the first thought. People I've gotten. You look like Shredder, and very much the desire to be like, you're saying darkness is your ally. I was born in it, molded by it. But yes, no, I am glad that somebody at least validated that thought of like, nobody the thought of just nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask. uh,
um,
but that was one. Actually, that was another detail. Is like as the movie progresses, you are noticing more people wearing like the kind of mask that you see people wearing today, which is like kind of like I don't know, just an eerie sort of like Nostradamus type, predicament.
right. And like they said, like they mentioned, like the best way to save this stop this thing is with social distancing and making sure you wash your hands and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, this is
Yeah,
weird.
that was definitely the moment. That was definitely the moment in the movie where I was like, okay, this just got real. Because I I don't know about you, I've never heard of that phrase until all this started, and when they said it in the movie. So I don't know if I guess it must have just been a term that's like used in like the medical community or like I'm trying to think of the epidemiologists or like whoever does studies like pandemics or viruses stuff like that. So I guess it must have actually been something an actual term in like that lexicon.
Yeah. Social distancing, I've been doing that my whole life because I
Yeah.
don't have friends.
Hey, you're
But
describing half our audience.
we have an audience. Um,
We have
so,
friends.
um, so overall, like, what did you to talk about the movie as a movie? What did you, how did you, what did you think of the movie? Did you enjoy this as a movie? Does it work as a movie? Um, what are your thoughts on that?
That that's a I and that's kind of the big thing with this movie. Besides the eerie predictions of into what our reality is, it's kind of one of those movies that sort of falls into it's good. Like there's nothing inherently like wrong with it. You know what I mean? But it's like there's nothing that makes me want to really go back and like rewatch it. Um,
Yeah, like you
like
saw
there's
it
not.
once and you're like, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it kind of. I mean, there's something about it because, like I said, I still remembered it. Just all these years later, like I didn't completely forget about it, but nothing about it made me go. There wasn't like like some movies will have like a standout character that or a standout performance or like a sequence that you're like, oh, that you kind of want to rewatch it to get it fresh in your memory.
Hmm.
There's there's nothing really quite like that. It just sort of like it's a good movie, but it's like I don't see this being in as a film on its own. I don't see it being in anybody's top 10 list.
No.
Um, I'm sure it could be, but it's like I feel like there's better movies that kind of had more of a short of like what's going on in the world right now. I feel there's got to be other films that people are watching.
Right. I mean, the movie is fine, but it's you're kind of right on the money with that. It's It's a film you watch once and you're like, all right, I'm good. Like the
Yeah.
narrative in the movie is just stuff happens.
Mm.
It's not like there's a character arc. There's too many characters to um, follow like a particular journey or something like that. They just kind of everything just sort of happens in the movie. Um, People are changed by the end of it, but it's usually stuff from outside rather than inside. Like Matt Damon's character, we don't know anything about him other than he was Gwyneth Paltrow's husband, who
Yeah.
was cheated on apparently, and he was sad, and he had a daughter that was upset because
Yeah.
she couldn't go outside and
She
make
couldn't
out
be
with her
with her.
boyfriend,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like that's it.
Pandemic.
Like,
Pandemic
like
be damned. She just wants to be. It's a typical kind of like, why don't you let me see my boyfriend, Dad? It's
right, which I mean
even the
that's
Matt.
fine
Yeah.
as a storyline, but like there's nothing there. Lawrence Fishburne, he's just trying to find things, and it was kind of interesting where he felt came in the problem of, they said, hey, we're going to shut down Illinois, and he told his wife, said, get out of
Hmm.
there, and the wife told her friend, and he kind of got in trouble because of that, and then the Marion Cotillard was who disappears for like three
Yeah.
quarters of the movie because she's kidnapped and everyone forgets that she exists until it comes back
Well,
at the end. It's like, oh yeah, that storyline.
yeah, that was definitely one that if I was someone who's kind of like watching a cut of this movie, I'd be like, do we really need that character? Because it's like it doesn't. It kind of shows an aspect of what people are doing in this world, but it's like there's never really enough developed into it. The last two sequences with her is she's kidnapped, kind of, and sort of being held, and then the next scene is, okay, we're going to release you, and do a trade off. There's never that in between of like developing it more, which you could argue is maybe how things go in real life, but at the same time, it does feel very. It feels like why do we? Besides the fact that we're trying to show like, okay, this is how Gwyneth Paltrow, infected this person, this person. It
Hmm.
didn't really add much to the overall. It just didn't really add much to the overall story, and it definitely it definitely does feel. And I kind of agree with you a little bit. Like even with, I would say Lawrence Fishburne and Matt Damon are the closest we get to like two complete like character journeys. But there are things where it's like like the movie kind of ends with like you're going to have to testify for Congress and this like that. It's like it's like almost like one of those things like if you're watching like a TV show or like a streaming like a Netflix show, that'd be like something like they would tease before like, okay, well this is what's going to happen next season for this character or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like they're definitely. I get what the point of it is trying to show like, well, this is sort of like we're telling a worldwide story from these different points of view. But the movie could have almost worked if it stuck with just one character and kind of followed their perspective throughout the whole epidemic. Like each some of these character stories I think could have been a whole movie on their own. Like I
Yeah.
feel like there's enough because I think in what we get the movie kind of leaves you with is like an idea, kind of like an idea for a story, but then it either just kind of rushes them and kind of finishes them off, or it sort of leaves them more or less open ended.
Yeah, that's very much true. I mean, you could have taken some of these side stories out and it wouldn't have changed the movie at all. Like if they focused more on the narrative of like one of the characters and their journey while this bad thing is happening around them, that might have made like a tighter character study piece.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if people would have wanted that at the same time. Like you have this like everything is interesting in a certain way, but I almost wonder if would have been enough to make a full movie because this film by itself was is only 106 minutes. I say only, that's average movie time, but I could see other movies like this where it could expand like a 3 hour runtime. But
Right.
if any of these individual stories happened on their own, um, like it wouldn't be enough to make a movie, I guess.
Right. And I did, and that's kind of, and that's I think one of the reasons why I go back to why the movie does work. I think and I think I'm kind of sort of seeing the movie for what it could have been instead of what it actually is. Where it's like,
Mm.
oh, it could, you know, but I just lost my train of thought.
You probably have MEV one. I hear that's a symptom.
Yeah, yeah. That is the other thing in differentiating it from reality. It's very much like I don't know, very much more distinct, like sort of killer symptoms. But what was I gonna say? Uh, I don't know. Yeah, it was definitely just one of those things where it's like the movie it works, but it's like it definitely is one of those things where I think it's kind of fun to explore as a novelty, right now with everything going on. But once things sort of, I think once that everything sort of like gets back to a normal sort of like normality, where we get, where this isn't part of our, how things normally go. I think it'll kind of just go back to sort of being one of those movies like it exists, it's there, but yeah.
Do you find like the scholars of, I guess, internet scholars? I'm sorry, it's been a long day today. My mind is kind of mush at the moment. Um, the like scientists have like been have praised this movie as being super accurate, which I guess it is because I mean we're seeing this unfold now. The only thing I think I mentioned this earlier, the only thing we don't see is the battles between the scientists and people who think they're scientists and
Right.
armchair internet people who don't know anything and are just spewing out whatever their nonsense tells them, and both sides of the thing. But like we
That
don't see that, but I guess the downfall of society kind of prevents that from happening.
Yeah, that actually did remind me. There was one thing um, I will say I don't know much about Steven Soderbergh personally. Like I don't know what his sort of views are. And I get that the Jude Law character, nowadays we look at him as more like an Alex Jones type. But
Hmm.
there were some things where like when they're describing like the internet and I'm a blogger, there were some times where when I was kind of watching, I was thinking like, man, this is very much a old man yells at cloud uh,
Yeah.
kind of mentality of like, well, I'm like, where it just like, it's like, okay, so most of the stuff feels pretty kind of like pretty close to like, a reality. And then you have like, I'm a blogger. I blog things. I have so many hits on the internet. So you're just on a generic website, no YouTube, no Facebook presence. And I get it, it's 2011. I get it's 2011, but it also does feel like someone who's like, "What is this internet?" And
Yeah.
they could spread mistruths on the internet. People could go on the internet and just lie. That's crazy. Um, so it is one of those things that kind of, which is just a little weird. I think, and maybe that could just be like in the 9 years since the movie's come out, how much more internet culture has kind of sort of entered in our everyday sphere where it's like it's not just this weird like, oh, that niche thing you're going on the internet to blog. It's like, well, a lot of people spend their time online and kind of, there's good aspects and bad aspects. There's not just, the weird Jude Laws of the world kind of spreading misinformation. There's a bunch of other things that aren't entirely terrible. And that is the one thing I will say that I did kind of like is that at the end of the movie he's still doing that thing. He's still kind of out there sort of fear mongering, which
Yeah.
which again he doesn't even get like we don't even but he does get caught, but even then it's like more of a mild inconvenience than a final comeuppance. Which again, not saying that Steven Soderbergh is a psychic, but there have been several cases in the news recently where people got caught doing a bad thing and nothing bad really happened to them.
No, no, because the idea, and this goes to a lot of alternative news personalities, there's a built-in fail-safe that if they get in trouble for it, they could just claim I'm being persecuted for telling the truth, or I'm being the big government's trying to shut me down from revealing what's really going on, and people buy into it because he's already exposing conspiracies. There's a conspiracy happening to me, so it kind of works.
it just
Um,
means it's that I think the term I've heard is confirmation bias, which is I
Yeah.
think that and I think that is something that is I mean it is a big part of this movie, and I think it is an aspect that people don't talk about. People focus like, oh, this is just like Corona, but instead of just but that is like one aspect that's like I think is a besides just all the how a pandemic would actually play out in modern day USA, that is actually another part of it that I think has really stood up to the test of time. And just like, oh, these are how people who these are how the Breitbarts and the Alex Joneses and Milo, I cannot pronounce his last name. It's like a
Oh, Milo.
27
Yeah.
Yonkovich or I know somebody's going to correct me in the comments, but it is um, but people like that, how they persist and how they can still, despite the fact that they are, in the movie they even said you probably hurt a lot of people. Besides just telling people lies, a lot of people probably died and got sick from you, and
Hmm.
no remorse or
No, he has none. Like Jude Law plays the character so well, and I think they use fake teeth because something was screwy with his teeth to make him
yeah.
look more like creepy or something. But yeah,
He was.
he has no the only time we see some minor remorse is when he sees his friend, I guess, or a coworker
I
who
think like
was
newspaper contact or something.
who yeah, and she was pregnant, and she's like, I need more of the stuff. He's like, I gotta get more, and like he's walking away knowing, like there's a look on his face like oh, I don't have anything because I just made that up, and she dies and she's pregnant, and so it's even more of a tragedy. And like his like that's the only time we see some minor remorse, but like beyond that, no. Because he was about ready to tell people don't take the vaccine because it's not what they want you to, it's it'll do something bad to you. It's like
Right.
and
It's
people like
very
that are scuzzy, but they're making money off of it, so they that's what they're gonna
and
do.
and again, it is one of those things. I think probably back then people were like, oh, there's only maybe there's like a few of those people out in the world, but nowadays it is very much like, yeah, they're we kind of hear those people's voices a lot louder than I think we did back in like 2011, and it is just kind of eerie how that behavior is allowed to sort of persist and just be considered just as viable. Because I mean, he has at one point he's got an kind of like a CNN crossfire or like some sort of interview where it's like, okay, we have
Yeah.
the head of the CDC here, kind of trying to relay us information, and in the other corner we have a guy who's got a conspiracy theory blog,
Yeah,
kind of put at the same level of like
that
viewpoints,
was
like.
weird that they did that, but I mean it's a movie and
Mhm.
you have to hand wave over that, like especially at that time, to have like some conspiracy theory nut job on like a respected show to
News.
debate like someone from the World Health Organization
Yeah.
or the CDC, or I don't remember which one he worked for, but that was
CDC,
kind
you're
of
right.
weird. That was kind of weird. But I mean, you needed that to happen in the movie for dramatic impact. But
Well,
today you might see that more frequently. I could see that. But
I
um,
think back when that movie was made, I think people were like, "Oh, that's far fetched," but nowadays it's like, well, that's just, well, nowadays it's, well, he's just entitled to his opinion.
yeah. Um, what's interesting, the Kiwi mentioned this to me when we were watching the movie, is like after he supposedly took the cure, he was still walking around in a full hazmat suit, which
Hmm.
you would think like if you were cured, you would have the antibodies and you'd be able to walk around fine. Kind of like Matt Damon had magic blood apparently and wasn't unable to get the disease.
Yeah, that was something that I think in hindsight is very much just kind of like he's just walking around, just like I think there's maybe one scene where he's got a bottle of Purell, but even that is just for his daughter. But
Hmm.
the movie kind of gives it like he's got a superpower of sorts.
Yeah, just he has a weird immune system, but it's it's just enough where he can do it. Because Matt Damon's like, well, can't you take my blood to get a cure from this? And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And then they just drop it from that point on. Um,
That
but
is, that is I actually kind of speaking of Matt Damon, because he is kind of, I think besides Gwyneth Paltrow, I think he's the second billed like person in the movie, like the second billed
well,
actor.
that's what's weird about this movie is like the credits are all over the place. Because
Mhm.
technically speaking, um, let me see if I can pull this up here. Like I think the credits are done alphabetically because Marion Cotillard is um the top billed actress in this, and she's like not in this movie all that much. So I think for like the above the credits,
Mhm.
they went alphabetical because it looks like it was Marion Cotillard, Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, and then after that was the rest of them. But like it's all alphabetical. So I guess they're trying to say
Yeah,
like there really isn't a set lead character because all these stories are given roughly equal screen time.
but which I think is that is another credit to this movie is that you don't really, even in ensemble movies such as the biggest one I think of is your Avengers, or you don't really see that too often where it's like nobody's, because you watch like you watch like and you rewatch like Endgame, and it's like, okay, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Robert Downey Jr. Those are kind of like your three main guys, and then there's sort of everybody else. It does That is kind of one of the things I will give credit to this movie. It's like, well, nobody really is like the story we're focusing on. Everybody else is just a side story. It is kind of just a bunch of these parallel stories happening at
Hmm.
once. Um, the one thing I will say, kind of rewatching it, like if this movie did come out like today, I don't think it would be an actual movie. I feel like with the type of story that they're trying to tell, and kind of like what the media landscape, what sort of the media landscape is, I could easily see this being like almost readapted into like a either like a Netflix or like a multi-part like miniseries,
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
which I don't think, which I don't think, despite the fact that we do live in the world of like reboots and remakes, I don't need a remake of Contagion. So Hollywood, if you're listening, do not take that idea and run with it.
Oh, you
Uh,
know right now in quarantine, um, like the Hollywood producers like, all right, we're gonna make coronavirus the movie. How are we gonna do it? Who are we gonna get starring in it? We get Brad Pitt to play someone, and we'll get this person, and then we'll have a big action scene. Yeah. And then we'll
I will
follow
say,
the sequel, Coronavirus 2, Enter
Electric,
Murder Hornets.
yeah, 2020. Oh my God, this year is still going on. Um, I will say before Hollywood has the Prestige movie with like adapting our current reality. There's going to be a lot of B movies and like bad horror
Oh,
movies where
yeah.
it's like, well, in a world where the coronavirus, they're going to be line because I remember there's going to be lines where they're like, well, the coronavirus updated, now we have zombies.
Yeah.
Because I think they did something similar back in Zombieland, where they say like, oh, Mad Cow led to Mad Human or something like that. So I guarantee you, you're going to start. They're going to start name dropping that in a bunch of like bad, silly, cheaply made, you know, zombie movies.
I can't wait when like the Asylum. I don't know if you're familiar with that
Oh yeah,
the Asylum makes like a movie that's like Corona zombies or something like that, and like,
right.
oh no, I got the Corona zombies. I'm a zombie now, and I have to drink Corona beer or something
Yeah.
stupid like that. And why are they all going south to the border? And it'll start Tara Reid because Sharknado series is over, and uh, I don't know, David Hasselhoff as the president of the United States, or no, he might have done that in Sharknado. I can't remember now,
No,
but
no, I don't think was he the president? No, he wasn't the president. He was oh God, Finn's. He was Finn's dad. That's what he was.
okay.
In those, uh,
Who played the
But
president? That was somebody though. It was like um some
Gary
washed up
Busey?
actor.
Hold on, I know.
I know we need the, I'm sorry, yeah, we have to find this out now. This is pertinent for everything.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
if a producer for the asylum is listening, we want our check.
let's see.
Let's see.
Uh,
Oh wait, I think is it? Let's see.
Ann Coulter played the vice president. That's hilarious.
I think I think I may know who. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
Mark
I was.
Cuban.
Yes, I just looked it up. I was like, I think it's Mark Cuban. Um,
So here's some trivia. I don't know if you're looking at the same thing I am, but here's some trivia on Sharknado 3 since that's our topic of the day. According to Wikipedia, the role of the president was written with former governor of Alaska Sarah Palin in mind, but she declined. The part was then offered to businessman Donald Trump, but took time to decide since he was preparing a real presidential but I'm guessing he declined.
well, this Sharknado 3, oh hell no, was made in
Yeah.
2015, so
So
one
yeah,
year.
so so yeah, he said. So I guess Donald Trump said no because he's going to do a real thing, and then they cast Mark Cuban. Oh wait, no, no, no. Okay, I'm reading further here. They offered to Donald Trump, but he was taking too long to decide, and they're like, we can't wait any longer. So they casted Cuban, and Trump was angry and threatened to sue the film company because they took the offer away.
Oh Jesus.
So
So what if I to summarize everything that we've kind of talked about this evening, the asylum is to blame for the current state of the world.
that
Uh,
and Snyder Cut.
that and Snyder Cut, yes. Um,
Maybe the Snyder Cut will be the cure. That's something.
kind of like to tip the scales.
Yeah.
We get we get coronavirus, murder hornets, and we get the Zack Snyder's vision of the Justice League,
They'll
which
save everyone.
uh, in the words of some people's personal Lord and Savior, it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Um, so okay. Yeah, so Contagion.
Contagion, yes, sorry,
That's what we're talking about, right?
yes.
So worth watching, I guess, just for the creepiness of everything that's going on right now and how it's very, very much um parallels of things that are going. But
My, I would say my kind of final closing thought on it. If you are sitting at home, social distancing from all your friends and family, and you're looking for a film for pure escapism to try to get your mind off of the state of the world as it is, do not watch Contagion. It will remind you, oh my God, we were warned. Steven Soderbergh warned us, and we didn't listen.
I disagree. I think this is a family-friendly, feel-good movie of the year because Matt Damon was able to give his daughter a prom at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, that was one of those things. It wasn't like totally weird, took me out, but it was just kind of like very much a. If it was like in a family drama kind of movie, that would be like, oh, that's cute. Instead, but it is just kind of one of those. Doesn't come totally out left field, but it is kind of one of those. After we've seen sort of all the horrors that have happened in this movie, it's kind of like, and then we ended the movie with a prom. Um, which is it's like that'd be cute in like a Disney movie, but it is kind of one of those like I guess he got over his fear of everybody having the virus.
Well, he was cured. The boyfriend got the vaccine, and he knew the daughter didn't have it, so I'm guessing it was like safe at that point.
Yeah,
So
that is the one thing I will say, like, to give the movie one more piece of like credit. I feel weird because I'm like giving the movie a lot of credit, but then at the same time I'm just like it's an okay movie. But I will say, just kind of like they do sort of say, well, it will take months and months and months, which is very much reflective of how current development of a vaccine right now is. It's like, well, it's going to take months and months and months before we can have something successfully.
Right. What's interesting, there's another thing that kind of I'm curious about is that um, they don't really talk about the economics in the movie or how the economy's doing or if rent companies or any of that are allowing or mortgage if you don't have to pay it or whatever the case is. But one of the things they don't go into is at the beginning of the movie, it's implied that Matt Damon does not have a job because he says to Gwyneth Paltrow, "Oh, I got a job interview. They said it's supposed to be next week, so I don't know what that's supposed to mean." Clearly, he
Oh,
probably never got that job. So, like, how is he paying for like rent or not rent? Or how is he paying his mortgage or basic necessities or his electricity or any of that?
I did. I'll be honest. I did not. I'll be honest. I did not catch that. That is a really good detail. And I think that is. I kind of did joke with Megan. I was like, if they have a scene of people hoarding toilet paper, I'm done. But it is. I guess there is for many things as it kind of predicted what people's responses would be to like a big pandemic or epidemic that we're facing or that's being faced.
Hmm.
I think there are some details like that. Like how do you self isolate? How does a society function where we're trying to stay at home? And what happened? I think right now we're in the kind of the stage where it's like, well, we're going to try to reopen. We're going to try to we're going to try to reopen everything and go back to business as usual. But is that going to make things? Is that going to make things worse? Is it going to be not as bad as we were hoping? It is one of those things where I think that is definitely an unexplored aspect, but honestly, it is also something that I think I don't, despite everything that the movie kind of eerily gets right. I think it's something that I don't even know if when they were making the movie, they even thought of at the time of just like those little details like that. The
Hmm.
closest, I don't want to say the closest thing, but the one thing that is just kind of like the closest thing that the movie gets to like escapism of like from reality is when we have like people lining up to like the back of like a military truck for like MREs and stuff like that. I'm like, we haven't gotten to that point. um but because it's like I can still in theory I can still get like DoorDash or curbside pickup, but
Hmm.
so that but that is the one thing. It's like, well, we haven't reached that point where like things aren't nothing's opened at all and people are just looting for the sake of looting, which I suppose is a good which I suppose is a good sign of things. But still, it is one of those things. Like, hopefully, that's not another prediction that will come true.
Right. Well, I guess we'll find out in a few. We'll revisit this in like, I don't know, 3 months and
2 weeks,
see how society is broken down.
yeah. We'll have the recurring segment, the COVID report.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
So
that was Contagion.
yeah, that's all I got. I got nothing else to say about Contagion.
Yeah,
I'm
good
glad
movie.
I'm glad I caught this movie.
Ah,
See, I did a
well,
thing.
I'm glad I was able to. Um, I got nothing clever. Well,
All right.
hopefully, if you're listening at home, you can get infected with a pretty good film.
So, all right, I think that's gonna do it for us. Cuz, thanks for being back. We need to do this more frequently. So if you have topic ideas, I'm all down for it.
Actually, there is one last aspect of Contagion that was not that I don't know how they missed this entirely. Of all the things Steven Soderbergh got right, I don't know how he missed that the story that while a pandemic is happening, the story of one man, a lot of tigers, and some crazy
Oh,
bitch down in Florida somehow brought the world together. I don't know how he
yes.
missed that detail.
That is true. I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch Tiger King.
Really?
I've just not had time. I've not had time. Um, I watched the kids during the day and I work at night, so it's tough to fit in TV. But I do want to watch Tiger King, and we must talk about it on this show one way or another. We can't be left out. Everyone else is talking about it. We have to be there too.
We got
So
we gotta be on, we're on the we gotta keep up with the kids these days.
yes, exactly. So all right, let's end this here.
Let's put a
Like
vaccine
now.
in this episode.
Take this round back and end it. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. This has been the Contagion episode of the All New Culture Cast. I'm Nick,
I'm Cousin Charles.
and we'll see you next time with an all new episode. Stay tuned. I'm pointing at my computer screen, but you can't see it because this is audio and not a video podcast.
Is it weird that I could feel the point?
As long as you got the point.
That's all
I
that
don't know what I'm
matters.
doing. All right. Goodbye, everyone. You've been listening to the All New Culture Cast. We try to post new episodes every Monday evenings 3 to 4 times a month. Check out our backlog. We could be found at allnewculturecast.libsyn.com. You can also find us on Apple iTunes and wherever else podcasts can be downloaded and listened to. This has been the All New Culture Cast, a Saltwater production. Original material copyright 2020. Thanks for listening.
Also, what the hell is Night Angel?
Oh, it's the Masked Singer. It was the finale tonight, so we need to know who the Night Angel was.
I was like, okay.
And I've already forgotten who the winner was, so